Hey everybody, I'm here with a quick video on the Punisher. The Punisher is one of the workers that testified in the Diddy trial. He is saying, he's speaking out a little bit more now. He's saying, one, he never saw any crimes when it came to Diddy and Cassie. He's also saying that his book is not about, so much so Diddy and Cassie. It's more about his own personal health problems and what he did to kind of overcome those health problems. Let's go ahead and get right into this story. Um, this whole thing, when it comes to this Diddy situation, there are no winners. I think everybody is at a deficit here. Everybody's at a loss. Hold on, it was playing queued up before I even started here. I'll get into that in a minute. So, exotic male dancer, the Punisher. I didn't see any crimes with Diddy. Let me go ahead and let's take a listen to this. Hold on one second.
I listened to your testimony, and I'm trying to figure out where is the crime that they're prosecuting Diddy for. And I'm wondering, when you had your discussions with prosecutors before they called you, did they explain where they were going? Because I was confused about that when you walked off the stand.
Honestly, that was my personal experience too, being confused. I remember when investigators first approached me in March of 2024. This was before any charges, allegations. I basically told them, "Hey guys, I have nothing for you. I didn't see any violence. I didn't get any cues to her being in distress, and any cues or anything that I mentioned, which I did say there was some wincing and some sighing and stuff. That was in hindsight. If there was never any allegations, I would have never even perceived it as being an issue to even point out. So I'm just as confused as you. I still to this day I'm like, I don't know why I testified. I always believed my testimony, if it was any benefit, might have benefited the defense.
Your initial phone call, you said, look, I don't have anything, but clearly they pressed forward. I'm sure you had several meetings, but there was never anything where they said, look, we're going to call you because we think this will connect to something else. Did they ever try to connect the dots for you? Because obviously you told them you were confused right off the bat.
Yeah, I think what the problem was I kept getting passed from investigator to another investigator to ultimately when I was with the attorneys prosecuting, and so obviously they relay notes, but I don't think it was communicated aware, and it was never communicated to me what direction they were going, what from my testimony was valuable that they thought helped the case. Because me and my own evaluation, I just really didn't understand.
I read your testimony, and you're talking about Cassie paying you and Cassie dressing up and kind of prompting you. I kind of had the same feeling you did, which was that's what the defense is arguing, that this was kind of a consensual sexual liaison. And even if Diddy, and I know you did say at points that Diddy did make some payments, that she would make the initial, I guess, down payment, and then he would pay more when the encounter was over. But you weren't, to be clear, you were never transported, as the indictment is, so you weren't transported across state lines.
This was all in New York, and you live in New York, right?
Exactly. At the time, I lived in Harlem, and all of the encounters happened in New York hotel. So again, like when this stuff started, I was like, look, there's no way I can associate with trafficking. I'm all in the same state.
I thought maybe prosecutors told you something beforehand, because I was so confused when you got off the stand. I didn't realize you shared the confusion.
The only thing I can assume, and this is an assumption because we didn't have the conversation, was I think they wanted to make more significance with the wincing and the sighing and the frustration. But even if I'm being honest, if in the moment I did not associate that stuff with her being in distress to doing anything against her will. And even in hindsight, I understand the allegations, but I would be misrepresenting the situation if I said the situations I was in would translate it. Even in hindsight, I cannot say, oh, those sounds or those wincings or those sighs were her in distress, because it just did not appear to be that way.
So they're putting people on the stand that clearly said, I don't even know why I'm here because I really don't got nothing for you in terms of the charges at hand. So Sheree Hayes, an exotic male dancer known as the Punisher, tells us he's unsure why federal prosecutors called him as a witness in the Diddy trial, because he says he never saw Diddy do anything that seemed illegal and thinks his testimony may have actually helped the defense. The Punisher joined us on TMZ Live Wednesday and we asked him if prosecutors gave him any indication why he wanted to get on the stand, because his testimony Tuesday left many people wondering how prosecutors thought it related to any of the charges against Diddy. And the people are beating me down because I'm simply saying I don't understand how these witnesses thus far are helping their case. That doesn't mean on the flip side, I mean, oh, Diddy should just walk free. Diddy is innocent. I'm trying to tell y'all the prosecution has the burden here to prove that the charges they brought against Diddy are true. They got a witness that himself, he's saying that I don't even know why I was there. And check this out. They got a witness saying that, and we got a jury that is not sequestered. And y'all want to tell me this is not a circus and a recipe for disaster? You want to tell me you had from that Intercontinental Hotel a security guard who took his cell phone and recorded the beating of Cassie so he could take it home to show his wife. So you going to tell me you got not one of them jurors are going to say, let me just tap on this article and see what the Punisher is saying, because I saw him on the stand the other day. Okay, if y'all want to believe that, fine. We'll believe that. We'll roll on. So Hayes said he's still confused as to why his testimony was necessary, telling us he let prosecutors know from the jump he didn't see anything that looked criminal during his sexual interactions with Diddy and Cassie. Stunningly, Hayes says he actually thinks he may have helped Diddy's offense, which only raises more questions about why prosecutors wanted him on the stand. Hayes mentions Cassie winced a few times during, their relations, but that's about it, claiming he didn't see anything that looked like force, violence, or coercion on Diddy's part. Now, she probably wins because Cassie told us herself that she stayed with the UTIs and the sores in her mouth. So I'm sure she probably was hurting just from normal interaction because she always seemed to be suffering from some UTIs. He tells us he lived in New York and met Diddy and Cassie in New York hotels exclusively, so it doesn't seem like he could relate to the charge about allegedly transporting prostitutes across state lines. Hayes wrote a book about his 30-year career as a top-tier exotic dancer called In Search of Freezer Meat. It was mentioned in his testimony and is now a #1 new release on Amazon. There are patches about his experience with Diddy and Cassie. They aren't specifically mentioned by name, but the descriptions match up with his testimony, and it touches on erectile dysfunction and penis implants. But he said he's not chasing clout here. Okay. I think, let me see if this is a little different. I'll wait. The Punisher seems poised and calm in the interview. Ejectors most folks might not associate with a gigolo. So that may be why prosecutors wanted him in court talking about freak-offs. But he's still scratching his head because he said prosecutors never told him. Let's listen.
See this coming, but your book has gotten a lot of attention. I'm wondering if you've heard anything. The book is called In Search of Freezer Meat, and it's essentially based on you don't use real names in it, but you do what we now know to be the encounter with Cassie and Diddy is described in the book, but it's about your life as an exotic dancer and escort, but you're also dealing with ED. When did you get the idea to put this book together?
I went through, and sometime over the COVID, I went through like a really, really, really bad break. And it was a lot of betrayal and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, I was told that her acts of her seeking relationships outside of me was because of my sexual inability, which hit my ego tremendously. I was crushed. And I went about a year without being able to achieve an erection at all. And that was a no-no for me. I went to almost a drastic place of trying to solve it. And I ended up going to the doctor, getting all these tests, getting all these things. And I was physically fine. There was absolutely nothing wrong with me physically, and it was all mental. And so when I started doing the research on ED, like 50% of cases of ED are mental. and men are running around trying to correct a mental problem with a physical fix. And I went so far with it being a mental problem, I ended up getting a penis implant unnecessarily. And I don't regret the penis implant, don't get me wrong. I think for guys who are really, really struggling with erections and stuff like that, it's something that should be considered, something that should be a possibility, because it really corrects it 100%. It's nobody talks about them. They're inconspicuous. You cannot see that you have it. And it removes all the anxiety, all the stress, all the fear that we build up for years as men, dealing with this issue, thinking that there's no way to solve it, or there's no cure that we can feel confident in. I realized there was no resource that was relatable, that was personable. It was like not like a guy talking to a guy. So I tell my friends all these crazy stories of my life. They love them, and I just wanted to find a way of maybe telling my personal stories of my life in association with me solving and curing my ED problems in multiple ways. It's not just about an implant. I experimented with anything under the sun. And I just have a funny story, personable story that goes along with the medical cure or possibility that you can use. And I want it to be relatable and a source for men that's struggling, because there's a lot of shame. It's a lot of shame and feeling emasculated with struggling with ED.
I got to say that, to be honest with you, when I heard about the book, I thought this was just about the romp of an escort, but this book has a real purpose. Yeah. I'm wondering, have you gotten any traction from the testimony? Are people more interested in the book today than they were a week ago?
Sales going up?
Yeah. Believe it or not, no. Because I think a lot of people, similar to what you believed, is that it's about me glorifying a sexual scenario, and that's just a black guy anyway, with a woman that is, was allegedly abused. So I don't think there's no traction in that. I'm really pleased and appreciative that you guys see that it's in a different light and giving me the opportunity to explain what the real premise is about. Because part of the reason I'm getting all this flack about me trying to chase clout and using this scenario to promote my book, and I can see where some people may believe it's in distaste, my book being mentioned in the trial and stuff like that, but from a standpoint of this trial is so huge, and once I'm involved in it for the rest of my life, I'm Sheree Hayes, the male escort, which I was never a male escort. I'm a male dancer, right? So the fact that the book is associated with me is helpful, because at least it can paint me in a different light to the few people who decide to look into it more so than what the bigger picture is, just me being involved in the Diddy Cassie trial.
I know he wants to look at himself as a male dancer, not a male escort, but in the meantime, when he went there, he was asked to do male escort type of stuff. And the only reason why I guess he didn't engage on a high level was because he had ED. But I hear what he's saying. The Punisher seemed poised and calm in the interview. Objectives, most folks not associate with adjectives. Most folks might not associate with a gigolo. So that may be why prosecutors wanted him in court talking about freak-offs, but he's still scratching his head because he says prosecutors never told him what might be helpful from his testimony or where we were going with their line of questioning. So you didn't even prep your witness. I keep telling y'all this thing is messy, and it gets messier by the minute. When you yourself are telling the people, I ain't got nothing for you, and they still count you as one of the witnesses, I go back to and remind y'all what I said, they don't got much. When the best you got is an exotic dancer that don't really have nothing to say, and he himself believes that he spoke and helped the prosecution more than he helped helped the defense more than he helped the prosecution, that's problematic. Listen, guys, chat with me in the comments, and when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. Everybody, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts. This is bananas. It's crazy. It's insane. Your own witness said, I ain't got nothing for you. And I heard Kid Cudi is off the witness list. That's what I heard. Y'all could correct me if I'm wrong. But did I not tell y'all the other day that even or everything he had to say about this arson situation is hearsay? Similar to Al B. Shore. Al B. Shore keeps saying, Diddy tried to kill him. Where is your proof? Where's your proof? Because when you got somebody in court, you can't do the street justice. You need real proof. Kid Cudi is, you know, that legend been on the streets for a while. So it makes everybody say, yes, it's 100% believable. And Cassie said that Diddy said something like that. But where is your proof? Did you see me? And I said it the other day with the gasoline, what would ever set your thing on fire? Because if you didn't, it's all hearsay. Chat with me, guys. I'll see you on the next video.